All right, boom. We're on the. I think it's a 3-minute delay. Let me check. 150 seconds. I can't do a 2.5-minute delay. I can do math. I'm Asian. All right, let's see.
So do you actually know who like the good regs and stuff are in here?
I mean, I see the same people over and over. As we know, not everybody who's there over and over is a good reg.
Right.
There's some people who stream, and like we know how it is too. Even the regs that aren't like top at the bigger stakes games, they're competitive. They're not giving it away, you know. But
yeah, no, for sure.
Like at this juncture, I could say I'm definitely not a winning tournament reg in the 218 weekdays. Like I'm doing really well. I'm running good and doing well on the weekends, but you know, I think I've been in the money like twice, and I don't know how many I've played, and I could have skewed results too. I'm definitely like negative, but like I don't know how bad my results are, and there are definitely ones I got lucky. Like people just like gifted me their stacks like early and mid, and
right.
I remember distinctly two of the times that happened, I didn't even make it in the money. So that hurts, you know.
It's just like, I mean, tournaments are weird, man. You can just have like variance at the wrong times and have. I mean,
yeah,
I got on a lot of like 200 buying down swings. You know, it just happens. Especially the heart of the tournament.
Definitely, let's talk about that when the audience comes in. But
yeah.
But just like, I mean, I know obviously when you get certain hands to go down, but like if you get like a 200% boost like early on or relatively early, I mean that should just give you like a huge advantage, right?
I mean, yes and no. It should give you a huge advantage to like cash, I guess. But if you think about it, like say you double your stack in level 1, right? So like what's level 1 in this? Level 1 is 30-60. You start with 10,000 chips. So if you have 20,000 chips, I'm assuming by the time you get to the money, that's like what's in the money is going to be 500, 1,000 or something, or 400, 800, I guess.
Well, maybe? Yeah.
I don't know how big this gets.
It gets really big really fast. These things are, yeah, it doesn't say on here, but like, I'm just, you know, I definitely don't deserve any like competitive credit, but I mean, I'm just looking to be plus E to see if I'm plus EV in these things. So I'm saying if you like double your stack early on, I'm just like, okay, my expectation to get in the money should be increased by like, you know, your return on investment should be increased by X% or approximately if you double up early.
Sure, yeah. Like let's say like for example, if I look, I don't know, long term, I probably cash in tournaments between like 14 and 16% of the time, I think. So in a tournament where you like double up in the first level, right? I mean, you'll probably cash like a few percent higher than that, you know, than what your average is. But it's not going to be, you're not going to all of a sudden go from like 15% in the money to like 40% or like 35%, right?
Okay. So I probably have that psychological screw up because I'm just like, I just feel like if you double up early, like you just, I don't know.
Like a good way to think about it is like just see what the average stack is in terms of how many starting stacks it is once you get in the money, you know, and it's like that's a pretty good indicator. It's like, yeah, if at any point you have average in the money stack size, then and you're not getting in the money, then you're probably fucking something up. But you know, it's like especially early on, like getting the chips early is almost
not that important, not as important.
Right, because there's so much more to go off of, and you can't really use those to like exponentially snowball. Because let's say you like double up the first hand, right? Like the most you can gain on your next hand is 10,000 chips. You can't gain 20,000.
Right. That makes sense.
You can't like, you know, go parabolic with it and just kind of like launch into the moon. Whereas like doubling up middle stages or something when there's other people that have a lot more chips than you is like almost more important, or it is more important in that moment, you know? Like, obviously the chips are still valuable early because you can't lose. But, you know, as far as like your trajectory from where you are now to like where you want to be, you know, getting the chips like when you can keep doubling up through people and keep just like actually doubling and growing exponentially is great.
What is run it once's? Oh, there we go. Run it once. Poker or training?
Training. Poker's the site that we can't play on.
Right.
It looks really pretty though.
Live with Dylan Linde. Run it once. MTTs.
Sadly, even all the time I spend like going to Mexico to play online, I still haven't made a Run It Once account because we can still only play like, I think maybe the biggest game they have is 2-5 besides the Galfond Challenge tables. Maybe they have 5-10. I don't know.
Okay, I just sent you on Twitter the link and we are live. What's up, Nick from Yuma? Dylan, I have the signed copy of your book right next to me. He says, thanks again. I had Nick from Yuma on yesterday.
Yeah.
Nasty Nate from Cincinnati, LFG. Yeah, let's go. We're going to start in about 4 minutes. And we had a full Dylan Linde podcast last time on Live Bike, and I wanted to get him on again, but also get his advice because, as I've told you guys, I'm not doing well in the 218 weekdays. And I'm not, super studied on this stuff, but most cash game players, and I've said this in the past, although, like, when you're actually doing it and your actual money's on the line, then you kind of have to be a little more conservative with what you say. But if you're a proficient cash game player, the transfer into tournaments shouldn't be, like, too bad. Like,
yeah, it's not really. I think most of the time, like, cash game players aren't used to blind defense frequencies, right? Like, you're not used to playing with a bunch of ante in the middle and not worrying about rake.
Yeah.
So I think, like, cash game players tend to play with maybe a little better post flop and have a bunch of pre flop leaks because they probably don't VP up enough.
I had a lot of questions because, like, defending the big blind, back when we were coming up, we probably defended the big blind fairly wide in both, cash games and probably tournaments to outplay your opponents post flop. Now that people are better, especially against a proficient opponent playing out of position, a little bit of an uphill battle since they kind of are very studied what to do in position.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but you're not like, when you're playing cash, you can just immediately see, especially if you're playing live cash, right? Like you're sitting at the bike and you defend your blind, you can immediately see money go into the rake box, right? So in a tournament, like, your minimum defense frequency only has to be break even or slightly better than break even, right?
Yeah.
Like with your pot odds. So that's a big difference between there and cash, because, like, in cash, you automatically have money taken out. So even, like, slightly plus chip EV defends, you can't actually do because they're still just losing money. And you just have to be that much better than your opponent. And sure, in tournaments, I'm not going to defend the super bottom of my defense range against, like, Steven Chidwick deep in a tournament and expect that it's going to be great for me. Like, yeah, I'm pretty good at equity realization, but I know that he's better. So, you can make, like, some of those adjustments, but it's still going to be much wider than it would be, in cash.
So, yeah, in LA, the higher stakes is time collection. So then you obviously see a lot more blind versus blind.
Yeah,
and,
right.
Defense. But then the mid stakes,
exactly.
Even 40-80 limit and 5-10 no limit and 5-10 PLO and lower. Actually, it's time collection at 5-5 with a rock, so I'm not sure. Anyway, for PLO, and it doesn't run that often. Anyway, that's besides the point. It's like, one of my issues is when you get to, like, 7 big blinds or, like, 14 big blinds. I guess when you have, like, 14 big blinds or 13 big blinds, putting one in to try to, like, make something happen, that's more doable. When you get to, like, 7 and it's just like you're putting in one when you have, like, a reverse implied hand, I don't know, something like, yeah.
The cool thing is that, like, when you're that short, right, like, the inverse implied odds are just, like, thrown out the window. So you can't get outplayed pretty much. So you can take, like, what I was talking about, where there's, like, your ability to realize that your equity with your hand.
Yeah.
Like, now you can't be outplayed and not be able to. You're not going to under-realize your equity when you're that short. So it's pretty sweet in that factor, where it's just like, hey, got a pair. We're going to get the showdown because I defended off of 6 bigs. That's it. I mean, yeah, it feels bad a lot because you end up just like getting it in with a gut shot against aces or whatever. But in the end, it's still plus EV for you to have defended versus the totality of their range, and and people make big mistakes. Also, people still misplay like short stacks. There's a lot of room, to make big mistakes as far as like post flop play. Like there's, you can be bluff raising after defending off of 10 big blinds.
Yeah, that's why like something like 7 big blinds kind of rough. Is like, do you want to save that 1 big blind, or do you just like, I don't know, 8 or 7 is kind of like weird, or do you just like let it go and fight for another hand?
I mean, you still like your minimum defense frequency is going to be, you're still going to be defending like 80% or something versus min raise. If you're playing with a reasonable size ante, like a big blind ante or something, like you're really only cutting out like the very, very bottom. In fact,
wow. Maybe I've been screwing up then, because one of the things I do. By the way, it started. I sent you my my name on Twitter. You search for it.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
So, the culture for global poker is nittier, I think, than normal. And when I first started streaming, I was doing more like, I had memory of like Poker Stars and Phil Tilt like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So I would say that these guys punt less, but their pre-flop is more straightforward.
Okay.
You do get people who are competitive players, like, ultra competitive, obviously study charts and probably more past that obviously I see them rip a little lighter. But in general, it's kind of rough because a lot of the ripping bubble and beyond is fairly like high on the range.
Okay, so people are probably a little on the risk averse side. Is there a lot of like the big pre-flop, like 40 big blind rejams and stuff going on the site?
It's hard to get 40 big blinds, and I guess because I'm not that familiar with different kinds of structure. So I have ace 3 of clubs here, and I just whatever check fold. I'm not familiar with the wide range of tournaments like you are, so like I'm gonna start fresh and just be like I'm only familiar with global, really, and I of course have some term experience and heard of the way the ACR and ignition is.
Yeah, because it's like especially playing with the more a lot more players like using more kind of solver-based play, or like GTO pre-flop ranges, especially because there's so much more widely available now. Like you got a lot of guys selling good products out there that are offering these things, and so people are learning like, holy crap, it's okay for me to just reshove 50 big blinds, like against a button open. Like it really changes the game, but it's when you're not seeing those things and then someone does them, it's much different than if it's a regular aspect of the game, if that makes sense, right? Like,
yeah. So a lot of the people I'm gonna have noted, like this guy on my table, OX303, just by name alone, he's computer savvy, right? He's definitely like done a lot of work, and some of the regs like CNL, he like in the very beginning he didn't know who I was. I have no idea if he knows who I am now, but like one of the hands he had was he raised small, I re-raised, and then he 3-bets and he 4-bet small, and I had queens, and it was just a 6-high flop, and I just folded the flop. I mean, this guy, if the guy's here every day, he doesn't know who I am. There's just no way it's like queens are good.
Yeah.
But then he obviously made a note on me, so one of the hands after that, he limped small blind against big blind with like king 3. I think it was at a juncture where I didn't want to risk too many chips against a reg, even though, I just didn't want to, even though I had position. So I just checked king 3. The flop was like 2-5-9. It goes check check. Turn was like, I think a jack. It goes check check, and then river's a king. So he checks. I value bet king 3, and he just rips it for like 6x. And I was like, so I'm like, I could put like, I want to eliminate hands like Queen 10, which is obviously the nuts, or just like, I just eliminated quite a few hands, and I was like, obviously considered aces, and just like I ended up calling, and he had King 2. He, obviously river 2 pair, and in retrospect, his decision was pretty easy in a sense that like I'm calling or I'm not.
Right.
And I have value or not. It's really hard to lay down a king in that spot, even, King 3. So I gave him credit, and then ever since then, it's been, very put in stacks and let's see what you do.
Right, yeah. He just likes to blast it. I mean, I like that. It's still, it's interesting because it's like, you see a situation like that, and it can be two ways. It's like, one, is he exploiting, or two, is he just too damn greedy? He's like, oh, I should put in a bunch of chips here.
I have King Jack of clubs here,
but I don't know how much.
I have King Jack of clubs here. If you're watching.
Yeah, I see you. So I know Nickel 9 is like a good regular on ACR. I'm assuming it's the same player. I don't know.
3-bet button versus okay. So his note is kind of Nickel L9. So let me see. Maybe pro on ACR. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like his rip is like in that particular hand, it's like, yeah, it makes sense. Because I'm gonna have his range wrong, and I did. Not even if I had his range right, I still don't know what the right answer is, because it's just very. And the thing is, like, I forgot who posted this. They're like, if somebody rips out of position, it's almost surely for value. I think like once out of like maybe 5%.
Yeah. The thing, and especially in tournaments, is like when people make these huge all-ins, and if it's like someone you don't know, right, and don't have much experience playing against, it's much easier for them to find them with very strong hands than it is to find them with bluffs. And if it's someone, like a lot of times, if it's someone that's going to find it with a bluff way too often, you're probably going to have seen evidence of it before that hand. Like, it's just so easy to, I see it a lot. It's just, you see people that just like make weird, inappropriate overbets, and it's just because they just got there. They just have, it's like it makes sense because it's easier to put in all of your money in a tournament especially when it's like oversized the pot or whatever, or not like involved in some standard like 3-barrel line or like 3-bet, bet shove sort of situation. Like if someone's just like, if your hand just goes like check, 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 you bet, and then they just go all in for 5x pot on river, like it's pretty tough for a lot of people to find those bluffs. Like when they're thinking of a bluff, they're gonna 4x or whatever, Like it's much harder for them to get to that sort of conclusion. It's not necessarily the case with everybody, because that is, like when we're talking like balanced world, like GTO world, right? Like those lines need to exist. The thing is that most players aren't doing that, right? It's so you really have to like make this judgment call on like what they're thinking, why, is like, is this guy just blasting it in there with a strange blocker, hoping that you're just going to fold range? And it's pretty telling. It's like way more so telling to like find the bluff there than it is to just find a random value hand where it's like, like it, 2-pair might not even be worth 6x spot there. Like it's
very fair
stuff. So it's, a lot of my notes on regulars are certain things like that, where it's just like makes nonsense overbet when they just have it, it doesn't. But then again, it's some people, it's like what a nonsense overbet is different to different people too. Some people like to play my style's more like game theory based, I guess, because I just do a lot of studying of sims and so forth, and base a lot of my stuff off of solved ranges. So people who don't play with those just, play kind of like the old school, like Chad Batista style, just get in the hood and overbet jamming when they think you don't have it. They don't have to have whatever
I definitely know that I'm being noticed because there was a 3-barrel bluff that I got slammed, caught, and I was like, nice hand. I'll tell you that one. So I had 4, and I think it had, obviously the table was playing tight, and I've probably folded like 3 orbits or something, like 2 or 3 orbits. So I opened 4s, and then the big blind called. It was King 10, King 10-3. He checked, I see bet. He called, turns Jack. I bet 3/4 pot, and then.
What was your c-bet size in the flop? And was
flop? I think it was like 50 or 60, probably something like that.
Okay.
And then I 3/4 the turn, and then the river I 80%, and he literally took the full time, and then heroed me with King 5.
He had top pair and he didn't want to fold.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean.
Yeah. I mean, it's. In theory, though, I don't know. It's tough. It's like having a 5 is kind of good for him as far as bluff catching goes. Like, I guess you can still be barreling like middle 2-pair and stuff, but him having like a queen is almost worse because I don't know. Like your barrel offs there are pretty few and far between, so it's going to have to be like your bad ace highs. Which is like,
and I don't know,
some low pockets. I mean, do it.
I think you're kind of right. He probably just didn't want to fold because like it's pretty hard to justify that call. But
yeah,
you know how things are when you see the same names over and over. You start.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure it's like if it was against someone else that you've played against a bunch, they just like make that note, and then it's like. He's not even necessarily thinking about like, oh, having the 5 in my hand is good. It's like, oh, this guy will just blast off,
Which is very rare, but
fuck him, click call. Right, but
that got caught.
If they happen to catch you, then
yeah, it's timing. So as you can see, these guys are 2xing and 3xing, and if you want any notes, oh my gosh, I have an essay on this guy. This Shash Gosh guy is. Min PFR, UTG, I squeezed big blind, he folded. Oh my gosh. Can flat AKAJ, that's a really good note. Cold calls 3 on the button to hijack PFR, so I guess the cutoff must 3-bet. He checked King 3-2, 3-way, off to the cold call. He's limp button with 10-7 off.
Wow. He's a gem.
Mid-tournament, he's limped in the low jack with aces.
Basically, if I catch someone open limping with more than 20 big blinds, I make some pretty quick assumptions that they're very fishy. And same thing with like cold calling 3-bets. Like I guess
it could be a really big game.
100 plus, there's going to be things going on. I mean, sure, it can be a big. I mean, it's really hard to like. Some people when they cold call 3-bet, it's like 10s, jacks, king queen suited, king jack suited, ace queen suited. Yeah. Other people, it's like aces trying to get you to like trying to get the other person to But both ways, it's still like not a very good unbalanced strategy. When you're playing 200, 300 big blinds deep, it's probably gonna have to be cold calls. I don't really know. I'm not really qualified to answer that. I try not to play that deep. It's not my forte.
Yeah, on Live on the Bike, we see like it's different because these guys like know each other for like over a decade. So like, cold calling 3 on the button has a lot of different implications.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, depending on the game, I mean, it's just, the 3-bet could mean very little with some of the people. I know, like, I don't know, when I was like doing a bunch of coaching for someone in that $5 ante game, I watched, God knows, 100 hours or plus of it. You know, you get to see how the people like really that play with each other every single time like interact, and it's just a different. It's a game unto itself. Like it's very that sort of ecosystem is much different than tournaments where it's like you'll get a few of the same guys, but you always get these random like I don't know what the hell this guy's doing.
Are you open to comment on like tournament players, like multi-table tournament players, elite? I don't know.
Sure. I mean,
so one of the big things is Phil Hellmuth. Like, I've played with him in cash. I obviously know his reputation, and I feel like he in these big field multi-table tournaments in person, because he's so abrasive, he can get information. He can get other people to do things that, if you never see these guys again and they never think about how to react, then he gets away with a lot, and that's like huge. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Phil is like one of the biggest like I don't know a polite way to say this. One of the biggest like fish feeders in the game. Like he really crushes like non-regular players or like weak regular players for a multitude of reasons. Like, one, he's very good at like figuring out how people try to adjust to him and his like banter and his whole persona. Like people, he's like good at finding out the guy that just has a boner for him and is trying to come after him, and be like, I bluff Phil Hellmuth, or he's like, he's really good at stereotyping those players. But also, if you put him in 100K, he's going to be towards the bottom of the field. Like I think he'd have a really hard time beating like 500 ABI online at a large sample size. I mean, maybe he could prove me wrong, but I think he'd have a really hard time.
It's not so much that. It's like, he's of the age and reputation achievements of like certain formats and fields. So we've been around a long time. We know where we are proficient in, and the other stuff is like, we already know how hard it is to like, how hard you have to work to even be relatively proficient, let alone be elite.
Right.
So just like, do we want to head down that rabbit hole? I'm like, not really. Even games I'm interested in because I'm on broadcast, like I gotta, brush up on the mixed games or PLO, but I'm not stepping in the 200, 400 gardens or whatever the hell they're running in Vegas,
Yeah, exactly. Like I really feel strongly that way about PLO, where it's like I actively work to improve, and I play some like high stakes PLO tournaments and stuff. That is way different than me sitting down and playing, like a 25-50 online cash game. Like most of those lineups would just annihilate. Like that's not I haven't put enough work into it. I know how much work my friends who are good at it, put in, and that'd be like, telling a friend that regularly plays only PLO that he can easily beat, 600 ABI MTTs. It's like, it's not going to happen. Like, you're not going to be the worst player in the field, but it's just different, and there's just a lot of work, and I think that's one of Phil's things is he just thinks that he's like, he's of the old school where it's like poker ability is like a natural talent, with some amount of like studiousness involved, but it's more of a...
So I have 10-9 and diamonds here. I think early in the tournament, and now it's clear defend. But even heads up, probably defend this early. So it's ace 5-3, 2 diamonds. Are you okay with a check raise here?
I think when he bets into 2 opponents, I like calling a bit more. I do like... So you like 3-betting if it was heads up. Yeah, for sure. Because I think you're just like...
220 or 300?
I think going like, I would go like 260 or something.
I'm out of time, so I just chose.
Yeah, that's because you just get to do that with like a bunch of portions of your range.
They both called, so.
Yeah, this is a pretty bad continue now to bluff, I think.
Yeah, I think so. All right, giving it up. 10 high is good. So this guy.
Wow.
They both have.
These guys are both freaking champions. Like that.
Well, now and now I feel bad that I'm not doing well in these things.
So, like in those situations, where the board favors you, but it's like 3 ways. I still think doing like some like smallish size betting is very good because you're just allowed to bet small in the turn and then just put in and throw a giant grenade at the river. So it's like if the river there is just like a blank, you can, or if it's like the blank 4, that's the best card for you to just, because 10-9 of diamonds isn't necessarily the best hand to bluff with, but if you think about bluff candidates there, once it checks around on the flop, like both of those guys are, well, we don't know anything about small blind's range, but in position is going to have weak aces like what he had, some just like blank stuff. So the corollary of like because typically you don't want to bluff with like those kind of like upper middle flush cards in your hand, right? Because those represent a lot of auto folds. But we already know that at least in position doesn't have that very often because he would c-bet at a high frequency. And then the small blind can have both the spades and the diamonds and some other crap, so it doesn't represent as much of a portion of his range. So that hand would have been okay to bluff with on not a spade. I think a spade is just really bad for you to blast with there between the two of them.
Spade draw on the turn.
Yeah, exactly. It seems highly likely, more likely than that they both have top pair, right? Like it's
mathematically.
Yeah.
Yeah, now you see the fields.
Right. In my mind now, Jeff G is automatically like, not a top regular.
I didn't. This is my first note on him.
Yeah.
I don't recognize these names except for Nickel 9 and I think Snake 1125. So my note on Snake 1125 is interesting. He PFR'd 5x when we were at a final table early position.
Huh.
I don't know what that would mean. The hand wasn't shown down, and I don't have how many bigs he had, but I think he was like reasonably deep, obviously from the.
Yeah, that's definitely not like really a thing. Certainly raising larger sizes pre-flop than you normally would is a thing at final tables when say I'm at a final table, right, and I have 20 big blinds and there's a couple other stacks that have like 10 big blinds and I'm raising into the big stacks blind, like I'm going to be playing a very tight strategy, so I'm not going to min raise like I normally would. I'm going to be raising 2.5x because my raise size is a product of how loose I want to play, right? So I'm still going to have some bluffs, right? But they're going to be more like polar bluffs with like, I'm going to be opening with like maybe ace 9 off or ace 8 off or something and not really opening like my middle cards as much. But I'm going to be raising bigger, so I'd be like 2.5xing, which might seem odd to people, but it's actually like, because your raise size is a product of your range construction, right? Like you want to raise smaller if you're going to be raising more often, sort of thing. And bet smaller when you're going to be betting more often too. Like when you c-bet 25% on the flop, that's mostly because you're c-betting your range on that board. So same thing with pre-flop. So but 5xing is, again, that's like one of those immediate flags where I'm like, okay, let's play more poker together.
So one time, small blind against big blind, I guess he raised 6.5x on the final table. These are obviously very good notes to have.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like I could see reasonably skilled opponents like constructing a reason why they want to do that. Like he's like, oh, I'm ICM pressuring or something, but it's like, could be taking a decent concept and just like misapplying it a bit, or it could just not be good. I'd say.
Again, I just have these notes. One guy, the same guy, limped hijack, 8-handed final table, wasn't big, folded queen high river. So I guess it was checked all the way down, and then the board was like queen high, and he folded to a bet.
It's good to have, like, especially a site like this, right? I'm assuming you can't use a HUD.
No, yeah. I like that quite a bit because, like, while my brain isn't as sharp as it used to, I do get things wrong compared to HUDs. Like, I do have, like, an internal HUD going, so.
Right. Yeah, no, I actually prefer playing where they aren't used. I don't think that it's it's not necessarily my skill set, I guess. Like I gain a little bit from using one. I've always used one on sites where I can, but it's not like a cornerstone of my game or anything. You know, it's helpful, but sometimes it can be a crutch too. It's just like it makes some decision based off of playing with a guy for 100 hands, and it's like, you know, based off the like a VPIP on like 100 hand or like a, you know, sample, and it's just like I mean, you know, anybody can have a bunch of get a bunch of really good hands in 100 hands.
Yeah.
Or not get anything. So it's like it's kind of dangerous. You can get some really good information off of it, of course, but.
So the MTT grind, I mean, I've only been doing it for like, I guess almost 3 months now on stream. It hurts, man. Like, you know, I've lost 9 days in a row. Just, you know, the last 9 days, and it's, you know, I'm not playing as big as I used to, but it still hurts like really bad, and it's kind of sad because while it is a decent number, it's not as big as I used to, but it's just like, I'm really disappointed in myself. I don't know what to say.
Well, but how many tournaments is that?
So I only did tournaments Sunday and I think Thursday and today. The rest are cash games.
And you're playing like one or two at a time, or how many are you playing at once?
Oh, MTTs?
Mm-hmm.
Like like 6 to 7.
Okay.
So I prioritize them, obviously. Usually the ones on the far left are the important ones, and the far right are the PLO or the small buy-ins that are free, and I just like, you know, those I just like whatever. And then the important ones, I'm trying to pay attention to the clock when the blinds are moving up, and then obviously they're the times where like I have 5 hands and 7 MTTs, and I just gotta like make my best guess.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is like MTTs are probably the most wicked form of variance you can subject yourself to in poker. Like it's crazy. I've had so many, you know, 100 to 300 buy-in downswings in my career, and, you know, gargantuan, you know, 150 plus buy-in wins. I mean, that's the thing, is you think like when you have an ability to win, you know, like 300 buy-ins in one tournament, of course you're going to be able to swing down that much too. Because, you know, some of these, and especially, you know, like here on global, right, like your field sizes are a little bit smaller, which is good. But say you're just, all you do is you play like $5 to $50 tournaments on one of the major sites, and all of your fields are like 1,000 plus players. You could probably go on insane downswings, because it's like it's so hard to beat that many players. It's really difficult. It doesn't matter if you're the best player in the field by far. Like, you still just have so many 80-20s, you know, 60. Everything has to go right in the right order at the right time. So, I mean, you can just go on wicked downers. Some of the best players I know, you know, who were like big winners in 100Ks, go on. I had a friend earlier this year who, you know, I mean, he's won the World Series Europe main event. He's got multiple bracelets, you know, like, I don't know. He's a crusher, and he went on a 500 buy-in downswing at high stakes. Like, it just happens. Like and it's real, but it's really hard to hold it together, you know, Wayne. Like, because you start doubting yourself, of course, because it's like, you know, sure, you lose like 30 buy-ins, and you're like, I'm fine. This is variance, right? But you always constantly, like, MTTs challenge you to find a new depth of how bad variance can be, or how good. Like, you see people go on insane heaters. You know, like, there's some people that made like $1 million playing $300 buy-in tournaments online. Like, it's just like during COVID. Some people just win a ton of tournaments in a row. Yeah, it just happens. It's wild. And I think out of all game types in poker, you know, MTTs lend themselves to the most delusions. Like, it's so easy to think you're really good and so easy to think you're really bad, all based on results, which are all based on variance that we can't really even wrap our minds around. Like, and all the money is usually played for at the end of the tournament. So you can like, like I go at the end of my day when I'm playing a big session and I'm like, I upload all my hand histories and look at my EV big blind per 100 and I'm like, yeah, I'm real sweet and real fucking great at this game. But then, what happened is I lost a flip and I got 10th instead of winning the flip and becoming chip leader when it's 150K for first. And it's like, and that stuff, like you remember that day, but then when you go back and you look at like 150 buy-in downswing, you don't necessarily even remember that hand happened. You're just like, uh-oh, and then you start doubting yourself, and it's just like, yeah, you're doing well, you're playing well, but you're losing when the dollar EV is there, and that just happens sometimes. And it's, the thing I used to start worrying about was, what if that always happens, Uh-oh. But it's just as likely that you always win as that you always lose, right?
And the thing is, like, I've been doing this for literally just under 3 months. I mostly stream on Sundays. Some of like in the beginning, I was doing some weekdays too. I'm net up. I know I told the audience I ran really good in the first 2 weeks because I final tabled like a 50K guarantee, 218 buy-in. I'm like, I told them like this isn't normal, and I don't think I'm playing like the worst, but like I'm definitely not studied and like
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Just logged me out.
Yeah.
Didn't want me to observe.
They logged you out right when I was doing an embarrassing play.
Right? Yeah, they're like, you don't need
to see that. Don't need to see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, basically, once I saw like the global culture, especially in the lower buy-in and free tournaments, I just like let people self-destruct and just like wait for like real hands or like certain spots where just like higher plus EV. They're just like, I don't need to like take more risks, I guess, with marginal hands, just to run into like a real hand that nobody's gonna fold.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no, right? It's like you kind of do, because I mean, if your opponents, especially in higher stakes, like I guess at all stakes, I mean, your edge comes from being able to play like the marginal hands better, right? Like it's,
in my opinion, all the free and like the 11 centers, like the marginal hands playing the better means folding them.
Sure, because someone's just going to give you all the money. Like that's a very good point. Yeah.
So like this, I never really gave MTTs much thought before, but this would commonly happen. So, I'll like say I'll have like 150% or 200% starting stack. I'll play like ace jack off mid, and just like lose like 2/3 of my stack and then pick up like kings or queens like 2 orbits later, and I have less of a stack. I could have used those chips. I know it's like it's not like directly correlated, but it's like instead of in the low free buy-in tournaments, saving your chips for like your bigger hands when you get dealt them. Yeah,
because you're getting people just flatting like marginal crap behind you.
I have ace queen off here, so I'm gonna make it 720. His notes are CC2SB folded 9-7-4 2 hearts.
So I think in general, I would squeeze larger.
Okay, because you're out of position.
Yeah, because you're like 80 big blinds or something, right? So I think like I'm gonna squeeze like 5x or something there.
Okay.
For the most part, it's
do you like squeeze smaller with better hands? Or
no.
Do you just okay? Just keep it balanced.
Yeah, which I think there is merit to doing that when your opponents are just bad and they're not going to care. But for me, it's the way I think about it is I still play like a range of buy-ins, right? Like I'll play like as low as like $150 buy-in or something. But I won't do it at the same time as I'm playing like a 10K online.
Yeah.
Right. So I still have to think about things in different ways as far as like how to attack like more skilled and less skilled opponents. But one thing I like to think about is I don't want to get myself in the habit of playing in a style that's going to lose me money at the higher stakes. So I would rather not try to like push myself to make like really big sizing exploits pre-flop I'd rather do like most of my exploiting post flop with like under or over bluffing sort of things, and not get myself in the habit of like playing too many weak hands, or changing my sizings too much, because I want that to be like part of my, I know there's like muscle memory. It's like part of my brain memory, right? Where I'm just like, okay, like I just want this stuff, especially because pre-flop is, still mutable, but there's less options than there are with post-flop stuff. So I'd rather have that kind of be almost the subconscious part of my brain. Yeah, just like, oh, this is what I do in this scenario. And, predict their adjustments to it accordingly. But also it's like, I don't know, I just like to maximize fold equity for the most part, especially in these situations where you're like deeper early in the tournament. Because people just get in there with, I want to be able to predict what their range is a little bit better. And I think that like using, especially like for 3-bets out of position with large stacks, you get to be against a more predictable range. And I think like you probably, from playing in like cash games, there's a lot of people in cash games that don't really pay attention to how big you made it. Like you could make it somewhere between 4x and 6x, and they're probably like, I don't know, you re-raise, I call re-raise.
Yeah.
Let's play.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of like, I do see, and this is what I did like really old school when I was almost purely no limit. Like out of position, I would just re-raise larger, because I'm like, okay, we're playing 4 stacks after, with the next 3 streets. So.
Right. And you should, because it's like even though like when you take this interaction, right, of like opener and 3-better, and then opener chooses not to 4-bet, like you, as the 3-better, have a range advantage, like overall strength advantage of your pre-flop hand. But when you're out of position, it's still mitigated. So you want to decrease the stack to pot ratio, right, by bloating the pot pre-flop, so that your opponent, it can realize less of their positional advantage, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. So I think, and especially so in tournaments, because it's like when you're playing like 300 big blinds deep or something, you're not going to be able to get all in by the turn very often. But in tournaments, like most stages of a tournament, when you're playing a 3-bet pot from out of position, you're going to be able to put your opponent all in by the turn, like a fairly reasonable amount of the time. So decreasing the SPR is very important, in those scenarios, because of that, because it's just like, you can just bet flop and bet 150% pot and be all in on the turn.
So obviously I know mentally that my sample size for the 218 weekdays MTTs are really low. At the same time, I know that my results on the Sunday 218, and just my results overall, I'm winning, so I have to be running good. Like there's just no way around it. Like regardless of skill, if you're winning, you're clearly running good.
Yeah, I mean, of course. The other thing is if you're going to run one way or the other in a 218, you'd rather be running good on the Sunday one.
Exactly. So I have final table 2 of the Sunday ones, and I wasn't, because I'm doing this for stream. I'm not really paying attention to the structures or like the payouts. I'm like, holy crap! Like final tabling of those is like bigger than winning than a lot of the smaller ones.
Right. Yeah, I was just looking at that while you were saying that. I was just looking at the lobby because I was curious what these like with field size and whatever's like.
Yeah.
And this, it's still as long as registration open. So this is going to get like
level 6. Yeah, I don't even calculate the math until it's closed.
It's going to get like 75 players or something, right?
Yeah, probably. It's level 4 now. It might be like 70 to 80, something around there.
So it's going to pay like final table or like top 12 or, not.
Yeah, it'd be 12 to 15. Or, 12 to 15, I think. And I've, sob story, like I've bubbled or close to bubble like so many times. It just like it's, and with going in the favorite, obviously, you know how it is.
Right. Which you're going to do like, like these, you're going to do that fairly often because of just how, how little they pay.
So I also forgot to mention, like a lot of these free and 11-cent tournaments with like a ton of overlay, you start with a very small chip stack. That's why I felt like it was important conserving chips with
Oh, yeah.
those marginal hands,
Sure.
and letting just people just punt off when you have real hands. So
Yeah, and I would assume that in the like, especially at that level, you're just getting people just get bored. There's enough of the people that like, yes, it matters relative to the amount of sweeps coins they have in their account, but not necessarily to their like life if they lose, win, or whatever, you know.
So I just 3-bet large ace king suited there. I was in a couple other hands in a couple NTTs, so I just like wanted to err on the side of larger than smaller.
No, I think it's good. I mean, and it's good, like, you know, with your whole range there. I mean, from whenever you're 3-betting, like there, it's
Should be a big.
yeah, because we're like, you're like 70 big blinds deep or something there, so I can pull something up in my monitor real fast.
Ooh, these guys are aggressive in the PLO. It's not looking ugly.
Yeah, so like, I mean, there, you know, you can be, and this is even for a large size, it's at like 60 big blinds, you can be 3-betting as wide as like, you should be 3-betting like 10-9 suited every time against the button.
I definitely put stuff like that in. It's rough because, like I said, these guys are a little bit more fit, so they tend to have higher up on the range. And I know it's a small sample size, but I get caught by real hands like a lot. So I'm just like, I can just get 4-bet so often, and then like not like so often. I mean, I obviously do 3-bet that stuff, but I've toned it down from like my normal tendencies because it just seems like, these guys are ready to roll when.
Yeah, if they're like under opening the button, it becomes a little more dicey to 3-bet wider. Especially with hands that you would prefer they didn't just rip.
For example, I know against small sample size in the PLO MTT I hit a little loose open because it's early in tournament. I had like ace queen 8-6 with ace x suited. Then it was like call, and then the big blind 3-bets, and then it's ace 10-9. So I have a gut shot top pair, and the opener just rips, and I just fold because I just assumed he has a set of aces, and he did have a set of aces. But those are things like on global you could reliably, do that. You don't even have to think. Like, it's the same thing happens in the Fold'em tournaments.
I feel like in PLO tournaments, especially, if someone 3-bets, they have aces. It's like, especially if they're like under 100 big blinds deep, it's so different than playing cash. Like because I like learned PLO through tournaments to start with, so playing like 40, 50 big blinds deep, and it's just like, people just don't 3-bet rundown hands at 50 big blind depth because they don't want to get piled on.
So I should have folded pre. So I I had Dylan Weissman go over one of my PLO final tables. So I've won 2, and I came in second one in the bigger ones on the site. And I'm like, I obviously have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm just using like basic, tournament strat. And then he had a lot to say about my hands. I'm like, all right, back to the drawing board. But, through that coaching and through this one, I'm just going to extrapolate like quite a bit and then, adjust. But like I said, I'm telling you how the players in the site play, and these are the adjustments I'm making. So
right. Yeah, no, for sure. And I think it's like, I guess the way that I like to approach tournaments is I like to try to build a very firm theory base, and then let each player's tendencies, like this guy open limping, give me a strong argument why I should change it. Right? Like that hand where we saw the guy open ace-4 off, and then this other guy.
This is the same guy. Ace-7. This is the flatter with ace-7. The guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like this guy, we just know that this is a guy that you can just 3-bet probably a full linear range against. Like just go after him wide for value. Like that, it's just, and, like now, like that, if that situation arises again, you can just squeeze a lot, right? Because they're playing, like, they're V-pipping hands that week. Like, you can just go crazy pre-flop.
The problem is, sometimes these guys YOLO with ace-7, and I'm just like, oh, snap.
It's true.
Like, I've seen a lot of, that's why I tend to be more, like, you know, I've been adjusting more. I'm not obviously straight fit, but like I definitely tighten up and just like don't YOLO as much because I just run into too many real hands.
Get it a lot on like when I'm playing the international sites. You know, I don't know any way to say this that doesn't isn't going to be somewhat racist, but
American.
Certain regions play
Worse.
quite a YOLO style. Yeah.
Right.
You know, not always. There's a lot of good players from them too, but it's like you get a random guy from certain spots, and it's just like, oh, that 50 VPIP number by his name is, you know, like GG, they show the VPIP, and it's like a random guy shows up with a certain flag, and he's got a 50 next to his name. And you're like, well, could be he's only played 10 hands. Could be this is just the way he is. And then, yeah, you find out quick. But, I mean, it's still like, you know, the cool thing is that you can still do, you know, like I'll still make a 4% fractional big blind 3-bet with ace-8 offsuit against that guy. I'll just play post flop against him a little bit differently after he flats because I know his flatting is inevitable. You know, it's like I guess I'm less worried about like people being able to beat me because they're having it, and more just want to either attack like playing too many hands pre or taking too many weak hands post, right? And I think both of those things you can attack through just like pretty sound pre-flop strategy, which pretty sound pre-flop strategy in tournaments turns out to be crazy as fuck. Like it's opening a lot of hands. It's playing like king 8 suited from under the gun. You know, I mean, it's it's pretty damn loose. It's a lot looser than I used to play. I'll say that. Like, you know, back in the day, like I tried to do a review for Run It Once. I thought I'd do like a throwback review of one of my old. Maybe we even talked about this in the last cast, but I wanted to do a review of one of my old tournaments from,
and how things
you know,
changed.
way back when. Yeah, and to see like I was too fucking embarrassed. It was the tightest thing I've ever seen. No one's ever played that tight before.
I mean, can you justify? Okay, so I have ace-9 off in the big blind here, but can you justify just by like the eras? Because like, I could go back. Yeah, clearly I'll be embarrassed by even stuff I did like last week, but like it's not for nothing. You know, there's reasons behind it.
Yeah, I think most of my reasoning then was I'm afraid to make hard decisions. You know, just like, you know, it's like okay. I get punted to so much.
One sec, I have ace-9 off here, so you just complete for
yeah.
Min raise.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's not like doesn't have the best three-way equity, and I think you like in theory here you could think about folding some of your worse, like ace-7, ace-6. Mm-hmm. You could consider folding an ace deuce off, but you know, like ace-3, ace-4, ace-5, and ace-9 are all going to have to be defended.
So he just bets really small here. C bets the field. I fold. Is there like potential raises here?
Not with your hand, I think.
Oh, definitely not now.
I think you could consider raising here with any sort of backdoor flush draw with like suited ace-X. Mm-hmm. Right, would be a reasonable raise, especially when you're playing in a field where you might expect your opponents to be c-betting too much, right? I'd much rather have, you know, especially in really weak fields, I would much rather have something like king 3 suited to raise the flop here, just because I expect that my opponents to be overplaying specifically hands that contain an ace. Right, it's like one of the most common mistakes that you see are people just playing way too much suited offsuit ace-X or offsuit ace-X, you know, from all positions. So if you unblock those hands, that gives them a lot of like really weak hands that you can attack.
And you can see to the guys I'm losing to.
Also, it's just like they're just c-betting too much. Like that guy probably never fathomed not c-betting with ace-2 there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not against him c-betting ace-2 in these.
No, at some frequency it's good, but I bet he does it 100% of the time. Yeah, like it's.
I had 75 diamonds there, like obviously in cash games, three betting fairly often, and these I'm just like a really toned down three betting. I still do it, but like.
Yeah, I think it might be a little too loose, especially just because, right? Like you, like losing chips in a tournament is
devastating.
A little more valuable than you can't really get them back.
So this TSB 253 is supposedly like a no limit pro. So one thing I've noticed, and there's a couple guys, I haven't confirmed this, but there's definitely a couple guys like Trukio or whatever who are so aggro in these things, and I'm like, I watch and he complains about not doing well in MTTs on his Twitter, and like I don't really want to say anything because like I don't know him personally, and like I'm wrong. I'm just like, dude, tone down your fucking aggression, dude.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna up your variance by a lot, right? Like the more marginal spots you're taking, the more volatility you're gonna have.
So one hand I had with him yesterday, I don't know if he knows, he correlates my name here with who I am in real life, but he ripped it early with fours, and because I know it's him, it was a relatively easy call with eights in the small blind, and we were close to the bubble, and the river was a 4, but like
how much did he jam for?
Like it was like quite a bit. It was unnecessary. It was like 16 bigs or something.
That's just a losing play.
Yeah, so that I didn't want to comment on Twitter, but I'm just like,
probably,
especially in these fields, if I have a good relation with them, I have no problems just saying, hey, I don't think this is good, but
yeah, I mean, it's there's a lot of people with a lot of leaks out there that have either used tools that are not giving them great information, or they're like open jamming fours for 16 bigs from like onto the gun 1 or something.
It was one of the gun 1 or 2. I don't remember.
It might like win a fraction of a big blind or something. Although with this Ante structure, probably not. But then when you take ICM into effect, and then then you can start thinking about it even a little deeper and think about like the card removal of fours.
I have 9-8 off here. Do you ever? I mean, occasionally I'll just steal here, but I'm just gonna.
Yeah, I mean, I would go with it. Go for it with like 9-10. I think it's just like adding offsuit combos, right? It's real dangerous because you just start playing like way too loose, really quickly.
My thing is, like, obviously I'm not afraid to get in the mix, but just like I've had so much negative reinforcement of just like running into real hands,
right?
That I'm just like it's hard. Like overcoming better hands or good hands is very tough.
Well, and like the worst like offsuit hands you add to your range too, right? Like the less good hands you're blocking. Like 9-8 off doesn't have any very good blocker effects for you not getting screwed. Whereas at least like 9-10 off, not only can you make like slightly stronger hands, but like the 10, like the 10 has a bunch of like good blockers for like big suited Broadway hands and stuff that will like re-aggress you pre-flop and, ruin your equity realization. Whereas like, that's something that's really changed, I think, in MTTs too, is like the value of suited connectors. Like used to be where people would just be like opening up 4 or 5 suited onto the gun and stuff. And it's become like, especially in tougher tournaments, people have started to realize that like having a blocker effect on what opponents behind you, especially at like an 8-handed table, might have is pretty important. So hands like King 8 suited have become more valuable than hands like 5-4 suited, just because of like the effect of like, one, you can overflush, the big blind, which is very important too.
Right.
But 2, just like having that king in your hand means there's a bunch less combos of very strong hands that can come after you and make you fold pre.
And a pair of kings is good.
Yeah. Turns out pair of kings is really good hand.
So I had talked about that with CRISPR like I think 2 years ago, and just like Dara, I forgot his last name, but he does a podcast, and he was mentioning that too, about like the King X suited and Ace X suited going up in value, and the low pairs going down in value, because it unblocks your opponent's higher cards plus.
Exactly. And it's if you look at like things when you're looking at ICM and stuff, there's a bunch of these things, like kind of that example I talked about earlier where you have a short middling stack and there's a couple other much shorter stacks. Like you don't want to be opening hands with those like, or it's just like two middle. Like there's going to be spots where you're going to be open folding pocket sevens and opening with ace nine offsuit. Even though the absolute value of seven seems so good, it's like sevens just doesn't. There's just too many hands that they're going to fuck with you, and none of those contain a seven. You know, or not very many of them contain a seven, but a bunch of them contain an ace. So at least if you have the ace, you have this like nice blocker effect, and that's what you need more so than you need the absolute value of your hand.
Yeah, I have king 10 off in the low jack here.
I mean, it's a pretty reasonable open with 40 bigs, I think.
Do you min raise?
Yeah, I like to go like 4.2 or 4.3 typically.
Well, I did 4.1.
Yeah, it's kind of a product of the ante size here. So I think standard, like if it's a big blind ante, I would go with like 4.3. And then now that we're slightly smaller, yeah. But somewhere in there is, I think, very reasonable.
So I flop a king. Oh, it's three-way. So I'm probably...
Oh, wow. I didn't see that it was three-way until like I started tanking.
Yeah. I didn't either because I was dealing with other hands. So he bets out, and there's a call. I just call here.
You have a club in your hand, or?
I had no club. King of hearts, 10 of diamonds.
Yeah, I would probably call then.
And that's a pretty good card.
This is like not necessarily a very good board for the small blind. Like if boards that are like jack 10 high or jack queen high, you know, those are all like pretty good, especially when they have two broadways.
Do you prefer a larger size like 2,000 here?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, the guy probably like donked a club draw and is now
right.
So
exactly.
club just if he leads out just folds.
Yeah, I mean if you just like lead jams, it's gonna be, you know. I don't think I'm gonna want to call.
Let's
it's
see.
Just
Jack 9 and 9-6. I'm going to bet small and try to get heroed by a pair.
I would just always shove.
Okay.
Because I'm a greedy motherfucker. That's the way I play.
I just mean like because it's so pinpointed to him having like a club draw, I'm just hoping for a curiosity call with a pair. And he didn't pair the 10 or else he would have bet.
Right. I mean it's possible, but it's like you have a 10 yourself too. So it's in my mind, like when I think I just like rely on my opponents to try to defend themselves against my good bluff frequencies, right? It's like like in your shoes there, right? When he leads out and the other guy calls, I'm not folding queen jack of hearts, like, you know, right? With backdoor flush draw and stuff. Like I'm just getting a good price. So I challenge them to have minimum defense frequency. And, you know, so like on the river there, when you have PSR of like less than 1, I'm just not going to reopen action for less than all in, I think, given the way the hand played out. Like once he check calls like that size on the turn, it's just I'm just going to go all in or I'm going to check.
Got it.
Is the way. I mean, that's the way that I build my strategy, you know. And I think there's some merit to what you're saying, in that like you can exploit a weak opponent, but that's not really the way that I go about it, because I'm some of it's because I'm very neurotic. So it's like if then they can, you know, then I can just screw myself over mentally by thinking like, well, they're re-exploiting me, or they're like, you know, it's like, why would he check raise all in without a really strong hand, or, you know,
I'm clearly never folding in that spot.
No, obviously not with your hand.
Yeah, in other spots I might, you know, do something.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Obviously your hand's never fold. Like whatever. Like if he has a set or a straight or something, like
whatever. Yeah.
God love him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations, buddy.
I've run into this so many times where, especially in like what's it called, the bounty tournaments. Oh, I wanted to ask you about bounty tournaments too, because I'm just like completely clueless on those. But like in bounty tournaments, obviously people are shoving in chips more. Like, how do you play the earlier rounds? Do you just like stay in position and try to like? Yeah,
just try to make pots really big when I cover people. Basically,
and then when you get chopped, your chip stack gets chopped down. Then what? Like, say you have like you're down to like 80 or 70% starting.
So then it's. Oh, did you just get moved or what? Or did they just log me off again?
I got moved.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense. Yeah, what the hell? Okay, there we go. It kind of depends upon the stage of the tournament, right, and how much your bounty is worth. But yeah, there's like parts where all of a sudden, instead of like 3-betting a smaller size, you're just like re-jamming all in when everybody covers you, because you know they have to cover you, they have to call you much lighter. But for the most part, I think like the biggest mistake people make in bounty tournaments, I mean, this is a big mistake in all tournaments, I think, but especially in bounty tournaments, is to not plan it out so that you can get all in by the river. Because if you think about like, you know, whenever you're playing a hand and someone's bounty is at stake, that's a bunch of extra chips in the middle that you could potentially win. Yeah. And if you can't get them by the river, then you've left a lot on the table. Right. You know, it's it takes a little bit more hand planning, but it also it's just like you have to make a bunch of like minus chip EV calls all the time and gamble.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, that's like, it screwed up the math for me in a lot of sense, and also just like I just don't know what to do when I have like lower chip stacks.
Yeah, it's awkward because then people start coming after you lighter. So the thing is that you end up having to like call off lighter pre-flop. So when you have like 20 big blinds and everyone else has like 40 or 50, like people are just going to be, especially your like button opens and stuff, like the big blind's just going to jam on you all the time because they're incentivized to just take a minus EV jam, you know, and hope that you're just under defending or that they have enough equity. And the thing is it kind of like evens out, right? Because it's like if you're under defending against them like over jamming, then they're just going to profit immediately. And then otherwise you're going to have to call light. And so then their weaker hands are going to have enough equity with the added value of your bounty. So it just becomes this like kind of break even game where you're both kind of making the right decisions and just kind of flipping a lot, which is why a lot of people don't like bounty tournaments, right? Which, I mean, they're not my favorite, but I don't know. They do tend to bring out a lot of weak players. So I like that aspect of it.
Yeah, I definitely saw that, and I used to like not really like rebuy tournaments, but now I'm like, it just gets people to like put in their stack light. And I'm talking about the lower and medium end rebuy tournaments, not the freaking bajillion-dollar rebuys. That's like the only people rebuying are the super pros.
Yeah, but I mean, look at like, I don't know. I mean, look at 5 Diamond, right? Like the first year I played 5 Diamond, I had 2 guys at my table that were sharing like a $2,000 bottle of wine and straddling pre-flop, you know, and a 10K reentry. Like they didn't care. They're not anybody that you would label a super pro. They're they're not 2 people who I just want to call out, but
yeah, no, that's always the danger on broadcast.
They're definitely fun players.
Yeah. It's definitely fun on broadcast, especially since I do the hosting too. I'm like, ooh, you know, that's like I made a conscious decision to like not necessarily do hand reviews and just like, you know, I always got to like verify with the people I'm reviewing hands of, and I just tend not to do that. I'd rather just like call out my own stuff or just like talk to people who are, you know, better than me, in certain things than get educated.
I have to take off in about 15 minutes, just okay.
Sure, I'm just glad to have you. So yeah, frequently what happens, I'll have like top 2 against a set in a tournament, and I'm just like, and then the chat will be like, "Oh, could you have done anything?" I'm like, "No,
no." Yeah, that's one of the things I like about tournaments too. Is just like most of the time the stack depth is so short that it's just like, no,
yeah,
not folding.
If anything, I feel like the global environment is a little bit like old schoolish, so I do make some tight folds for this era, but they're correct. So I had a joke one where like I think it was raise, re-raise, and it ended up being like I think 10 big blinds only. Or sorry, it was raised 10 big blind. It was ripped all in 10 big blinds. Someone re-raised for a little bit more, and I have jacks in the big blind. And I just folded on stream. I was against queens and ace queen, I think, and I would have flopped the jack. And I'm like, this is why I don't win tournaments. In all seriousness, like, you know, it's just like it's because it was global, and like I'm familiar that, you know, something like that is frequently going to have, if the original doesn't have the high end, the second guy probably is pretty high end, you know, and it's that combination. I just don't like jacks in that spot. Whereas,
see, like, I'm just thinking like this one guy's got queen 10 suited and this other guy's got ace jack, and I got him.
I know, because the thing is, like, even, you know, in 2011, I remember playing, like, you know, on stars and full tilt and like Sin goes or MTTs or whatever, and just like I'm probably not folding jacks, but in, you know, in this global environment, like.
It's a weird environment. I mean, I've seen some very.
But you see why? That's why I prefaced, you know, like what I've observed and I've been adjusting. So I'm, you know, like, I'll definitely take a lot of your, you know, advice into account and just micromanage past that. But this, like, I always tell the audience, yeah, just basically the audience, like, I tell them, like, even people I coach, I'm like, the chart says this. I'm like, throw the fucking chart out the window. It's just for reference, you know? And
yeah, it's a baseline. I mean, that's the thing. It's something I've had this argument round and round with a lot of people about, like, you know, the value of like GTO tools and stuff. And the value is to have a great baseline to exploit people from. It's, you know, I mean, yeah, if you're going to be playing high rollers, you're going to need it to just because that's going to be the cornerstone of your play style. But even if you're playing 400s at the Venetian, you're still going to be a better exploiter by knowing the baseline than you are by not.
Yeah. But I mean, like, especially the lower end shove ranges for, like, whatever it is, 6 bigs to 12 bigs. I tell people, I'm like, you don't have to do these things if your opponents are going to self-destruct and you're going to ladder and you could wait for better hands. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you can cut something that wins you 10% of the big blind out. You know, it's like, you know, you're gonna get a bunch more opportunities that are gonna win you 3 big blinds.
So I have ace queen off here. I'm going to 3-bet. I'm gonna do 1350 small.
Kind of like flatting.
You like flatting? Okay, I'll flat, especially since you're here. This guy, my note on him is he cold call 2s with 10s in the small blind versus a button steal. So
reason I like flatting here, one,
this guy's squeezed.
Yeah, that's so a very, very strong reason why I like flatting.
What do you like here? Do you like flatting here?
Oh wow, then this guy just calls.
Yeah.
Do you have any info on this guy? Because I kind of like.
You like ripping?
I kind of like going all in. Yeah.
Okay. I'll rip. I'm totally okay. I haven't been doing well with these things. Yeah. No.
I don't like to lead you astray, but I think like this other guy has such a weak range with his flat in the middle.
Yeah.
But I like flatting because you can induce squeeze.
You're the best. You're the best. You're the best. I'm doing whatever you say. I don't care.
Got him.
But in all seriousness, like you said, unless, you know, one combination is like ace king and a pair, that's when I'm ultimately screwed. Whereas like if you flash there, if I'm ace queen against kings and 10s, it's bad, but it's not like bad.
But we know, like, John Ringo just never has ace king there, right? So it's like once he flats, there's just so much incentive for that 2100 in there because I think he's just folding a huge amount of the time.
Yeah.
You know,
and then you can
like
get money, you mean?
Right, yeah, exactly. And if Wesley Sniper like folds and then that guy calls, you're against a weak range that you're like flipping with overlay.
Yeah.
And then, you know, sometimes you just get fold. Obviously it's not going to happen super often. But when you can cut one of those two out with that much of your stack in the middle, like, I don't know, flatting, I feel like you under-realize when you're flatting there.
Well, I definitely learned something new, and obviously in that case I got it bad, but a lot of stuff you said makes sense.
And I think like pre-flop, just in general, there, like, you can mix 3-betting and flatting. I tend to like to flat a little bit more when I have like stacks like this polarized guy behind, and some of these, like, you know, like this guy with the big stack was in the small blind too, which shifts the dynamic a little bit to me because I feel like weaker players, once they have a bunch of chips, they're just like, I have to go crazy. You know, like it's like that thing. It's like, oh, I have all the chips. It means I have to play worse for whatever. Now, obviously, they're not thinking they're playing worse. It's just like this mental thing where it's like, I'm the chip leader, so I get to hammer. And it's like, yeah, kind of, but you just, that doesn't mean you just have to take every spot. It just means you take the spots you should take and you have more chips than other people.
Well, I just busted out of another one. I 3-bet with queens. The guy at ace 10 flops jack 10. Or jack 10, sorry. It's fine. It's
like you won the important one.
Exactly. That's what I tell the audience. I'm almost like, I won the important one. You know what's sad is I had something off stream today, and I got caught kings against queens, even though I was like in the money or whatever, almost in the final table. I'm like, well, I'm glad this happened in the smaller final one.
You can see why, after a little bit of my talking and some of my recommendations, why my friends make fun of me for being in for a lot of bullets and re-entry tournaments. I have somewhat of a volatile style.
Like even though I'm appreciative because of literally what happened and what like the runouts and obviously a talk, because I need as many things in my arsenal. My problem now is like, yeah, my ABC play isn't that bad. I just don't have, much depth in my arsenal because I haven't been studying this stuff. So. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, because 3-betting there isn't bad either. Like, I think if I were to guess, like GTO pre-flop play there would be probably like 50-50 split between the two. And then it's just kind of you either need to, randomize to make your decision or weight it based on some other factors. So I think, and especially with what you were talking about, where it's like you run into it a lot. Like when you set up a dynamic where you're like 3-betting there and then this guy's 4-betting, if it's the case where you think that players are playing like overly tight in that manner of like how they respond to 3-bets, then I kind of like flatting a little more to keep the range wide, have stronger hands in your flatting range, and to like, set up some of these situations where people are just like squeezing too much too. So like the adjustment that I would make there is to maybe like weight it from, if my guess is that it's somewhere between like, 3-bet half the time and flat half the time, and like 3-bet 60 and flat 40, I would tend to just make it more like flat 60 and 3-bet 40 or something. And like I do a lot of in-game randomization, I guess, for some of these that I know I have to do things fractionally, but I like to weight them and sometimes just ignore what I rolled anyway, usually to the detriment of my psyche. But
I mean, that's the thing too. Like when you become a reg, you kind of have like a massive arsenal, or else like observant players are gonna be like, you only have a finite toolbox, and you're obviously a reg, and I didn't have to be. When I started, I could just have a finite toolbox, and now that people are clearly, I'm streaming. Plus, like people are obviously have notes on me too. I gotta increase the toolbox.
And the cool thing is that like when you have things in your toolbox that they're not used to seeing, they can mislabel you too. They can be like, oh, this guy's a fish. Like this is, this was clearly a bad play. Like there's definitely a ton of people on like, especially on like ACR, because like I play a lot on GG and now I have a real name on GG. So it's like, it's much easier for them to like associate me with being like a run it once coach or whatever. They can still think I'm a bad regular, but I'm not just like random name, whatever, where they can just be like, holy crap, this is a mega whale, just because I did some weird like.
Yeah, that's huge. That's a problem with like me too. Like online, if they don't know who I am, I do a lot of stuff that looks like insane, and I'm just like happy to get labeled like that. Live never happens, and I've been like in a massively brutal conversation. I'm just like, how do I like, can I do anything to change my image? Because I know playing wild doesn't help.
No, because then they just assume that you're doing something to exploit them, or like that. Yeah, you're never going to be labeled as a fish. It's just never going to happen.
Right, and like even if I'm not like up to date, like I've performed well enough in like the last year during quarantine live that I'm like, okay, well yeah, I'm not in the mix. I'm not paying attention, but like clearly it's like I'm not welcome. And like I got barred from a game, not barred, but like if I show up, I don't think they're gonna be like, oh, you can't come in. But like I'm not getting the text from a place that's 10% 100 rake. So, and I didn't even win that much, but like I get it,
Yeah, they just it's more about the image than anything else. They're just like, oh well, this is.
Yeah, because there's definitely two players who I feel are better than me, and like and their label. Well, not one of them now. I mean, you pretty much can assume who that one is. But like in the past, we were like, this guy's a donkey, and I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like, no. But they play the part really well, I guess. I don't know what to say.
Right. I mean, you get like a few hands, and I think that's probably like a big thing with some live play, especially with like getting into private games and stuff, is you have to do things that actually are done, a few times, especially like early on. Although I read a hilarious thing from Dan Smith the other day that was like, he got invited to like some really soft private game, and then the whale host guy like
said he sucked.
Jams all in a ton, like a ton of blinds, like 3x pot or something. Dan just calls off with a flush draw to like appear that he gives action, and they run it twice, and Dan wins both, and then he was just uninvited from the game because the guy had top set, and I guess he only does it with top set or something like this. And then so it's like his give action play was like, screw this guy, get him out of here.
It just I mean, like, I don't know. I kind of asked around to pinpoint what it was, and just like I just give up. Like I'm just like, if I'm welcome, great, because they like me or whatever. If I'm not, it's like I'm not even gonna bother, because I know that's. I mean, it's like you can't really change my mind about stuff. Like it's just something you can't really argue. It's just like like one thing is, I don't know so much about you because Run and Once is like coaching or whatever, but for me, it's like I'm so integrated in the real world in LA. It's really hard to just like straight up bar me. Like, because I'm running live with the bike, it's like, okay, if you bar me, what about you? Are you coming on the show or what? Or because I'm part of real life. Right?
Yeah, you have a good that they want.
Like a little, a little. I'm part of the real world and a little bit of entry point. Whereas like I don't know about you, but because you're training, so that's like, oh yeah, I'm a trainer.
Yeah, they don't. No,
that's not a thing.
Nah, they don't care about that. No.
in fact, a lot of times that'd be a detriment. It's like,
Yeah, it's a bad thing if anything else. It's like, I've tried to get into some like mixed games that, it's like I'm drinking. I mean, I feel like I'm a pretty good time at the table, but it doesn't matter. They just rather have someone else.
Yeah, I mean, like. It's slowly, I'm sure and I think we talked about this last time, but the LA people, the LA pros get it. They don't get the text, and they start getting barred. So, it's.
Yeah, I saw it with Live with the Bike. I mean, it's like you get the guys.
Just,
some of it is if the couple of guys that you really want at the game don't want this guy at the game, then what are you gonna do? Are you gonna tell them no? Like,
I mean, like clearly, you're a veteran, so you know how this stuff works, and it's just like I'm not necessarily really in control of the situation. If like the VIPs say they don't like somebody, it's not happening, So
exactly.
And I'll get thrown under the bus, which is totally fine because that's my job. I'm not gonna be like, yeah, so and so said. I'm like, no, that's my job. Just throw me under the bus. I'll give a crap.
Right, because in the end, it's like even if it's someone that the viewers want or something, like the viewers. Yes, you only have that because you're making a product for the viewers, but you only have the product to make because you have the action players that make the game entertaining. So it's like in the end, if they're all like, oh, I want you to have so-and-so, they're like a crusher. It's like, yeah, so-and-so sits there, doesn't say anything. And then when he does, it's really rude to this so-and-so that makes the game run. Like that guy's in the game. Like, this is kind of the way it is.
No, totally. And just like, it's, yeah, it's rough because like audience like, let's see Doug Polk versus Garrett heads up. I'm like, dude, that's not happening. Ever.
No.
Unless a third party independently pays both of them a lot of money.
Right. Like what incentive would they ever have to do that?
Yeah.
Plus, I don't think anyone realizes how boring it would be to like watch them play live heads up for that long. Like, I don't know. That's a lot. I love poker, and watching live heads up cash game poker is not the most exciting.
I have ace jack of spades in the big blind here. Do you think I could rip? I could ace in the low jack.
I kind of like defending, really.
Just call? Okay.
Yeah.
and I'd have the backdoor spade draw.
Nice.
So I check. Do you like check call?
Yeah, I like calling. I think you're just like, you, like by raising, you don't accomplish a whole lot. Like you leave in hands that are very strong for him to.
Do you like leading out? I just like leading out here.
Yeah, I think just like betting fairly large is good. He's gonna have a bunch of hands that need to continue.
I probably should have bet larger.
Yeah, I would probably bet like 1600 or something here. 15, 16.
So he raises here. I like ripping.
Huh. Yeah, I do too. I think that raises like he either has pocket tens or you know, it's like I slow play pocket tens. I just don't feel like it's just sort of like this raise where he's trying to get to showdown at a cheap price. I feel like a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Or some dumb semi bluff, or he just has like king jack and he's whatever. Like
I have ace queen off here. Dude, I like learned so much here. Even
like this.
Ace queen off. So this guy has me out chipped. So now I gotta be careful, right?
Man, this is a super interesting spot. Like you could do both 3-betting and calling here.
I'm gonna flat actually.
I kind of like calling just because it's like this 20 big blind guy can squeeze a lot.
Yeah.
Which is real good.
Right. I have the ace of diamonds. I like check call here.
Yeah, I would mostly call. I think like.
I'm glad I'm not totally embarrassed. I'm gonna check again.
Yeah, no, I would never, because it's like the top pair pairing doesn't necessarily like change much for you. You know, like this is like in theory, this is like a.
Okay, I'm gonna raise to 6,500. You like that?
This is interesting. Yeah, I think both. I don't know. This is tough. I think both are pretty fine.
I'm running out of time.
Yeah, no, I think both raising and calling have a lot of merits. I think taxing him here is, it's pretty good. I mean, it's not like he's ever folding a queen. Yeah. And you would like to.
If the river's gonna be a king, he's gonna have like king queen. I swear.
Yeah. I would guess. Like my guess would be if we were to like solve this hand, right?
Call.
Having the ace of diamonds in your hand would be like worse for raising than not, just because that's like a whole bunch of like his diamond combos that he
would be betting.
Yeah, and then also he would try to bluff on the river when a diamond comes. Like say he has just like ace 10 with the ace of diamonds, he might just try to blast off on the river if a diamond comes. Whereas like, you like with that.
So I have king jack off. Okay, I'm obviously not calling to the ship, but like this is frequently happens. Like mid position min raises, and then my hand sucks. But do I want to just like flatten, potentially try to do something post?
Yeah. I mean, I would never fold there against
single
MP2 or whatever. Like, yeah, nah. I mean, against like onto the gun or something, sure. But I think you're going to do well enough against a bunch of his hands. Like main 10.
Damn it!
You have good equity.
I should just be called. He rips. I don't know. Care. King jack off. I got Dylan Linde on here. I call.
That's right.
So if I final table or God forbid win, I get to dedicate this to you because like I said from the beginning, I have like gotten in the money like twice in these things.
I know. Maybe this will be the start of breaking your streak for weekday 218s.
Yeah. Well, I need to get. I'm 99% sure I've never final tabled in a weekday 218. Even if I have, it's better to say stuff like that. You don't go to private games at all, do you?
No, never been invited. The only time I was invited to. I was playing with the spot in a tournament at the Win in this big private game. It was like a 200, 400 half no limit, half PLO, and I was playing like a Win high roller thing and sitting next to him. We had a really good time, and he was just like, "Do you ever play cash?" And we'd like talked a lot or whatever. It's like, why don't you come play? And I was like, oh, sweet. Yeah, I'd love to. And then I went there, and the person who was running the game, who, regular that runs one of the big private games here, was just like, you're not going to get a seat. didn't matter that the spot wanted me to play. It's just like no.
I mean, I don't want to throw any guys on the bus because I know I'm not welcome. But basically, like something similar. These guys are very named players, and they're like, oh, can Wayne come along? They're like, next time. And it's like I don't even. Yeah. I'm not ever gonna say like, why'd you do that, or throw them under the bus because we already know how it is.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's like, and it's like even, especially like this person like knows that I'm not a high stakes cash game player, but they don't care. It's just like,
they don't care.
Not that I'm better than they are, or I'm going to be stealing theirs. Like, nope, we'd rather give this seat to somebody. It's like I either got a friend that's going to give me a piece of the action or whatever.
Yeah, it's not linear. It doesn't have anything to do with our skill. It's just like, what do we bring to the table? Literally nothing, even if the other guy wants to play. What my comment was like, it's like when you play No Limit, obviously you have stacks. So instead, like of the neat, like 20 chip stacks, I have like 23 chips or 27. Or when I have a lot of chips, I'm like, do you know how much I'm in for? Like, you just gotta like say all this stuff. It's I don't know. You just gotta have a regime. Like a lot of the toxic people who like rip on Rex, I'm just like, I don't want to. I'm not like kiss ass, so to say. I'm just like, dude, just come on, just let me stay, man. Just let me play. I just want to play some fucking cards.
Just let me gamble, man.
Just let me gamble. Just play some fucking cards.
Yeah.
So it's like a double whammy if like these young kids are like toxic to the rec players. Like they make it bad. And it's like, dude, you're not gonna have a game, dude. You're like getting fired on your own.
It infuriates me. I've gotten in a few verbal altercations when I've been like drinking and playing like low stakes, like playing, like 2-5 or even. I'm guilty of when my wife and I used to live near the Red Rock. I would just go to Red Rock and drink gin and play 1-2 and just mess around and talk shit. And it's just like, sometimes it's just like a kid that's obviously a reg just starts going off on like a guy and his wife that are sitting there messing around. It's like,
dude, what are you doing, dude? Yeah.
Don't care about the money. Just stop ruining it. Don't stop ruining everything that's nice. Yeah. Playing and having fun is what's nice about poker. Let it happen.
Yeah, it's just like they don't like. One of the issues is their identity is tied so much to their poker ability, and I always mention this that like that's so dangerous. And like some people, if they're public about their identity being tied to poker, but they've learned to just like cultivate the social aspect. It's like, man, like you're in for a rough ride on a down. Like even me, like poker's a part of me, not even close to my pure identity. I've been able to like separate it pretty well. But I've lost 9 days in a row. It hurts, man. And just like, in my head and physically, am I like ready to just like throw a chair? Yeah. But I try really, really hard not to do it.
Well, and if it was any other job, if you're like a used car salesman and you're hanging out with a bunch of other used car salesmen and then people who are buying cars and you just start going off about like how you get people to pay the highest prices for the shittiest cars and you sell more cars than all these other morons, no one's going to like you. Yeah. Like you're not going to do well. You're not going to sell any cars to those people anymore. And all of your coworkers are going to hate you. And it's the same thing with the regs that are toxic like that. It's just like, no, you're not going to get the action. People are going to hate you. They're going to leave. You're going to lose all these opportunities in the future, like with private games or whatever. Like you're just, it's just bad business. It's bad for your mentality. It's bad for everything. All right, I got to run or my wife's going to kill me.
Okay, sorry. Tell her, blame it on me. I'll affirm. My fault. Miss Lindy's my fault. Okay. Always a pleasure. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you for having me. You better win this tournament, though. I got high expectations now.
I hope so. I will literally put it on Twitter and dedicate it to you. All right. All right. Thanks for
good talking to you, Wayne. Yeah. Talk to you later, man.
Dylan, Lindy, ladies and gentlemen, from Run It Once. Hope you guys enjoyed that, and hopefully a final table. And you guys saw me punt the other ones because, like, I just clicking buttons. What's up, Joseph Vita? What's up, Kevin Seo? Derek Daddio, Damon Santor. Kevin, you want to come on? Actually, I'm gonna try to focus. Actually, I don't even know what MTTs I'm in. Looking for that third 3. Did not find it. I'm trying to find what this. Oh. I'm just ripping ace jack here. Rip. I know which tournament this is. This is 11 cent 500 guaranteed. So. Okay, so this is this private one. 376. Guessing it's this one? Okay. This is rough, chip leader. I'm going to check top pair here. Under rep my hand. Definitely under repped. I'm probably gonna take an deuce line from here. Actually, I'm just gonna raise. It's a really dangerous game because we're both chip leaders. If he has me, I can't really do much. Nope, it took it. Wishbone, you're playing well. Don't know what to say. I mean, good laydowns if you weren't barreling. And a check raise in case he does have a draw. Then I don't have a full house, so I don't want to reverse apply myself. So then I fold out his equity, which is what I don't want to be against. Queen 10, I guess. Am I gonna play the 110? I think I'm registered for it. Am I not in the 110? Players left 35. Yeah, I'm in the 110. This is the 110. It's 2 chances. What's up, the dude? Your avatar relay is not lined up. I'm not covering your cards. Oh, damn. Thanks. Brutal. Thanks, the dude. That sucks. My secret identity is revealed. I think, am I out of this one? Hey, 6 blocker. Check's good. Not be looking for that third 3. up here. That's good notes you have. Need a king. It's not a king. That's a king. I'm actually going to check. I'm going to check call. Check call. Wow. That flushing its nut straight. A fold. Smash that thumbs up and subscribe. Not folding this, so he got there. He definitely got there. It was a flip, and he got there. That one was huge. Just going with it. It's a full house. Rip. I'm not going to rip against him. Just some money in there, so I'm okay with this. Oh, that's bad. That's really bad. Whoops. Okay, well, I got the overlay in, so, and I got lucky to hit. Got some dead money in there, I think. Let's get away with it. Easy game. Not an easy game there. Ooh. It's Mr. Ace Rag. I could hand read him, I guess. We have a double gut shot. We have no showdown. Definitely happy to take a free card here. It's not a good free card. Gonna put Jeff on ace high. We like other free cards. We should be drawing live for everything. miss. Now you're going to check it and let Jeff G's ace high do it. Ace queen high. Wow, 3 kind of threes. Okay, 30 left here, and they're paying 12, so we're getting close. This one is players left 63. That's this one. It's one rebuy. These are the cheapo ones. Let's see what this 169. Okay, so we're in the money. And up top isn't on zero. So. Rip. Oh well. It was a favorite on the flop. 3. Damn it. Wow. I mean, I guess I'll fold. Wow. It's ugly. A little too strong to fold this. We have a lot of history, so. Yeah, we gotta clock it out. This is where we bust. Uh-oh. I'll take it. This one's this. Okay, I got no choice here. I'm gonna fold this. I think this spot's better. Ship it. Wow, that's interesting. Flat. Aces? I'm never gonna fold here, so I'm just gonna open rip. Well, he's going to lead into me, so. Too many tables. King or club, king or club, king or club. No, yet not tonight. Worked our chip stack back up. All right, I'll call here and miss. Excuse me. Oh shoot, I should have slammed. Oh man, I'm messing up bad. I don't know if he has to call, so I'm gonna rip it. He definitely has to call with that. If I reduce. Getting close. Folded aces. Yeah, I mean, I've been really tired recently. Ooh, wow. I'm just gonna check raise right here. Let me use an overpair. Oh, wow. Fuck. Too many tables. Fuck. Level 6, so revise are almost over. time. BRB. Who's in here? Kevin Sayo? Ayo. Nasty Nate from Cincinnati. The Dude. Joseph Vita. How's it going, guys? Derek Daddio. Nick from Umas. Smash that thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you for tuning in. We had Dylan Linde in here earlier. Winner of 5 Diamond Classic. Multi-table tournament professional. Says he's known of elite players who've gone on 300 buy-in downswings, and these are not like small buy-ins, like $218. Not a large buy-in. These are like 5 figures buy-ins, maybe even 100Ks. Tough decision. Gonna have to use my timer. Oh no, that's me. That's me. Maybe it's not me. And a quick fold to risk potentially getting the big blind. How about quick fold next hand? Guess not. Come on. Need to be on the big line. It's not even that bad. Oh, definitely. That's it for me here. Better win this. Well, let's get some dead money in there. Thanks. Uh-oh. Whew. Whew. It's a crippling turn. No more rebuys. Yeah, we're level 7. Players left 81. Ooh, the people dropping like flies. This is where we bust. Well, we're not busting. We're still in the blinds. Is it for this one? Five. 9, 9, 3, 5. Low. I mean, low enough. Take it. Ooh, this might be where we bust. Queen ball. Gonna let you down, Dylan. Oh, got the ace. Woo! Easy game. I'm gonna rip. I'll take it. This is where we bust. Ooh, do we do the air? I think so. 19, yeah. Red, low red. Okay, whatever. I'll take it. I want to manipulate the blind, so I'm going to quick fold that one. Pays 15 as well, or not as well. This pays 15, this pays 12. Guy always gets me. Does he have a set of kings? Nope. I think he got me. I'm not going to mess with Jeff G. Limp with kings last time. Astronomical mistake not going with an ace-9. This is where I clock. Take it. Guy. Better not screw this up. Oh wow. Not folding to a bet anyway, so he saved me some chips. Ooh, I actually have them out chipped. Well, let's run the clock anyway. Seven ball. Low. Yes. Skilled. We're almost final table, dear. Oh man, I don't even know how I lost all these chips. Not calling. Nope. Rip that. Shoot, does Jack 4 rip here? I don't even know. With 2 bigs. Close to the bubble in this one. Shout out to Linde. Okay, who's... We have a bottom end. Oh, we have a second nut straight. Not have queen jack, so we chop. I had the better free roll. Whew. It's the one, I mean, I would have ripped it if he didn't rip it. So. You know he loves his ace highs. Five, six, not gonna cut it. We're probably all in next hand. TBH. Left. $8. Sick. Oh, we are on the bubble. Oh, we're in the money. Shout out to Linde. definitely calling here. Definitely calling here. Of course. 4 or ace. Not 3. Twelfth. What's up, Mike Lamosse? Thanks for the good luck wishes. What's going on here? Well, can't fold this. Yes. I'm going to More chips is better. It's 10, right? Oh no, he was super chip leader. The board's so covered. Rip. Better not accidentally fold this, so. do I have for flush draw? I don't know, whatever. I should just check fold the flop, I guess. I got the big blind increase. Yeah, definitely not. Okay, we busted this one. Busted this one, so we're the two important ones. Did well on this one too, so 15 pay. And I think, oh no, I'm in for, ooh, what did I do here? Ripped, I'm going to let him live. king or nine. King or nine. Nope. He lives. Oh, final table. So we get to change the title of the video. Probably not letting this one go. Just luck. Oh man, double gut shot, or sorry, open-ended. Ace or nine, nope. Top prize is 4.2K for this one, and this one is 31.25. Oops, I don't even need the clock. I did for the blind increase, but Does top 15 pay? Yeah, 15. Am I in for 2 buy-ins? Where's this say how many rebuys? I think I rebought. Oh no, I didn't rebuy. I freaking just slaved it out. I think. Okay, I can't even tell. Okay, we're on break. BRB and refill coffee. Garza Jamie Gold taking lottery.com public. And we're back. This is where we bust. Wow, blind is so large. What are we doing here? Definitely following that. Oops, I didn't need to do that. We're already at the final table. Anyway. I'll take it. More big blinds is better. I did do that in case people go over the top and over the top and there's a pay jump for folding. I guess. There is some scenario. I just want to rip here. Since he min raised. I mean, either as a monster or he's folding. So rip me. Oh, all the chips are pretty even. We're 2 of 9 now. Oh my god, he straight flushed me. He one-outered. Should raise faster, do the clock, but whatever. Fold, hurry, fold, fold, keep going, fold. Fold, fold. Damn it. Quick call seems weird. I'll check. I mean, ace 10 high might be good. Yeah, fold. Okay, this is where we bust. What the hell? I just have to rip this. I don't care. If he has aces, he has aces. Jacks, okay, well. Got there. Clean. Oh my god. Ninth. It's cruel. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in. Shout out to the chat fam, the LATV chat. Thanks for Linde, to Dylan and D for coming in. The cards are king. Peace out, guys. What do we get? Well, we'll recap how much we got. I think we're still down for the day. 462.